And if you look back in our news releases, I think it was in November last year, you saw that we took on a whole Chilean business unit. And since that time, yes, we've completed the Margarita acquisition, which you referenced, and we're on the cusp of completing additional projects of a similar opportunity and scale and nature.
When it comes to mining stocks, precious metals, and cryptos, you need to go to Mining Stock Wealth. And welcome, this is Kerry Lutz, and you are watching Mining Stock Wealth. The way things are going, unlimited money printing and unlimited government, well, where do you go? And where I've gone, and it's worked out well, is in looking at junior mining ventures. And some of the best out there, well, I always look at the team. And the team at the top is crucial. And here we're going to talk with Sean Wallace, and latest venture is Torq Resources. You find it at torqresources.com. And Sean, it's great to see you again. Torq Resources, it's kind of been an emerging story for quite a while. You got tied up by COVID, but you're on the brink now of, you've acquired, optioned a property, the Margarita property in Chile. That's a major step. But stepping back, what's the exact strategy of Torq? And when I mentioned great teams, you and Ivan Bebic, one of the great duos of contemporary mining, you've had a number of winners and you're continuing on. Just share with us the strategy going ahead of what we can look forward to for Torq.
Sure, Kerry, and thanks for having me. Ivan and I, as you mentioned, have been very fortunate to have had some previous successes. And, that has impacted and affected our business strategy going forward in that, you carry a certain audience with you when you do these things, and their expectations you keep one-upping yourself with it. And you mentioned it's taken a while for Torq to get running here. And I think that's been a function of how picky we've needed to be in order to continue to deliver that kind of success to our followers, to our stakeholders, to our employees, et cetera. We had to continue, sort of keep that snowball rolling down the hill. And certainly that was exacerbated by the whole lack of ability to travel and to go conduct business in our customary fashion. Fortunately, we had already had done a sort of global scour for where we really wanted to focus in on for Torq. And we had a healthy treasury, thanks in part to, again, these past successes. People gave us the benefit of the doubt, and we were able to capitalize the company as a shell. And so that sort of took the pressure off of, wondering if a project was financeable or not, because we had already financed it prior to acquiring it. And then COVID came along right after we had chosen that we were going to sort of hone in or get myopic on big copper, gold, porphyry, and bulk tonnage type projects in Chile. But COVID hit, and culturally, at least in our experience, a lot of these South American business people generally are not really prone to doing deals over Zoom and all these the way that people are doing things now. And so with the inability for myself or my partners, Ivan and so forth, to get on airplanes and go down there and really make a connection with people and sort of forge those relationships in order to make those acquisitions, we had to think outside the box. And fortunately, another one of our partners, Michael Henriksen, and his vast experience in South America, had already a number of contacts there. And in fact, it was a team of finders, people that were bringing us projects. And we were so impressed with the prep work that they had done on the projects and the way they viewed them. And we said, wow, this really is similar to how we would view it. And so the light bulb kind of went off and said, well, why don't these guys are sitting in this thing in Chile looking for capital in order to move forward with some of their ideas. So we said, why don't you join us? And so that is something that if you look back in our news releases, I think it was in November last year, you saw that we took on a whole Chilean business unit. And since that time, yes, we've completed the Margarita acquisition, which you referenced, and we're on the cusp of completing additional projects of a similar opportunity and scale and nature.
Yeah, and that's what I find most intriguing. So this is the first of what presumably are going to be many projects out there. And You said you had to be extremely picky. So I assume a lot of different opportunities came across your desk, and this was probably the best of them.
Yeah, well, these I don't know if Margarita ultimately will be the best. It's certainly one that we love, and we put it through our ringer prior to acquiring. To determine which one's going to be the best, I think that will be revealed in the fullness of time after we put together a few of these large scale opportunities. Then you explore them, and ultimately the drill bit will determine which one's the best. We certainly are very, very positive about the Margarita project. The leverage to gold and copper prices, we believe, is good. Often, we would be doing this anyway, irrespective of what's happening in the copper market right now. I guess unless it was crashing, we wouldn't be doing it. But sometimes you do the right thing at the right time, and we certainly feel that that's the way the table's being set for us here in Chile, and particularly in the copper market. And certainly gold obviously has a very strong price right now as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're gyrating, but hey, for the most part, we had $4 plus copper, probably going to return to those levels and go to record levels. And we've got the trend of governments and industry saying we're going to EVs, we're electrifying the energy grid even more so, more electricity for what were previously not electrical applications. So you've got that on your side. And when you look at these types of projects, they kind of make it obvious the decision, don't they?
They sure do. I've always liked copper. I've had the good fortune to work on a number of large copper projects back in my earlier life at Hunter Dickinson Group, with Taseko and Northern Dynasty and a lot of other great storied successes of the past. And so I'm quite excited about sort of returning to my roots to start going after these big bulk tonnage copper gold projects again. And outside all the stuff that you mentioned in terms of the demand, we have to, remain cognizant of the fact that there aren't a lot of big supplies of copper about to come online. It's a positive and a negative. One thing about big copper deposits, you can't just switch them on. They take, real time to construct, to permit and construct and get running. So I think strong copper prices are in the cards here for all of us for a good long time.
And you're in a very prolific area, the Margarita project, and really Chile, most people in our industry, when you think Chile, you think copper, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of the big granddaddies of storied discoveries and big profitable copper mines certainly are located there.
So as far as additional acquisitions that you're going to be making, some of which are probably imminent, what characteristics do they share with the Margarita project?
Well, they would all have the opportunity, or they would have the look, if you will, to be a major mine. We're not looking for small, high-grade little things. Obviously, sometimes that's what you see at surface, which leads you to find the larger deposit. But frankly, we're focused on finding the next major copper gold mine. So anything that we acquire will be located with some favorable infrastructure too. We're not looking to go too far off the beaten path and have to fight some of the well-known challenges that some of the high altitude mines have and where it's too arid. In other words, there's not enough water and all these sort of things. So infrastructure at Margarita is fantastic. I can tell you the other ones that we're seriously down the road on also have excellent infrastructure and access. And again, close to areas where we have the ability to have the human capital or the human resources in order to move these things forward, because that also is very important.
And for a country like Chile, which has so many fabulous producing copper mines, really there's a lot of parts of the country that haven't really been that much explored.
Right. Either they haven't been explored or they were explored with a different lens, or they were going for near surface mineralization or higher grades things. And so you sometimes when you comb through that data, you can see that some of the drill holes tailed off in what we would now consider good grade, but say in 1972, it wasn't so much what would make a project sing. So we're trying to follow up on ideas like that.
Yeah. And it's safe to say they were kind of jaded, because the copper was all over the place. at or near surface, and there was so much of it that they just didn't have to be bothered. And it probably wasn't even economically feasible, a lot of it back then when prices were so much lower.
Precisely. I mean, there was a lot of low-hanging fruit, as there was actually globally. It's not just at Chile. This is a phenomenon we're seeing everywhere. Let's face it, all the low-hanging fruit is pretty much been picked. And every once in a while, someone gets lucky, or a jurisdiction that was, say, closed down for political reasons or what have you, opens up again, and then there'd be a little bit of low-hanging fruit there. But in general, all good, disciplined junior mining and senior mining companies all nowadays have to rely on technology and thinking out of the box. Is the only way to make genuine new discoveries now, and not just retreading old projects.
So I want to ask you about your partnership with Ivan Bebic. It's been fabulously successful, probably more than either of you could have ever imagined when you first met. So what do you think, any great partnership, and I've had a number of them myself, you make up for the other person's, your strengths cover their weaknesses, their strengths cover yours, or they're better at certain things than you are. How does the interplay between you and Ivan work when you're setting up a company like Torq?
Well, I think that's a good point. Ivan and I are very similar in terms of what's important to us. We're dissimilar about how we go about it and where some of our strengths may lie. My background was coming from the Hunter Dickinson group, where I worked in the field breaking rocks in half is how I started doing it, and then slowly worked my way into every aspect of the business over a number of years. And Ivan came from the financial side, from the brokerage industry. That's not to say I didn't work in the market either, nor that he didn't have a good comprehension of the technical aspects. But we sort of came with two different but similar views, in that we're both know how we can deliver the greatest value for shareholders is to be anti-dilutionary. In other words, if you treat your stock like it's cheap, then why shouldn't everybody else treat it like it? You know what I'm saying? So we put our own capital into it. We like to keep our share structure tight. We like to be efficient with our capital. We like a lot of capital to go in the ground, or the bulk of the capital to go into the ground, because that's really the only way to unlock value. But at the same time, we're not scared to spend money marketing, because also you won't see the success you have in the ground reflected in your share price if nobody knows about it. So I think there's that. We also are very team-oriented people. So, Ivan and I, and it's nice that we get all this, the credit for the success, but that's a little bit disingenuous if I were to sit here and take that credit. We have a team here that is just so fantastic, and they make us both look so good all the time, that I really have to give kudos to them. And so Ivan and I both value that team. We make sure we compensate that team. We have very, very low turnover with our people. And I think most important thing that we have in common is a passion for this industry. I mean, this is not an easy business. So if you aren't passionate about it, I think you'd have a heck of a time being successful, unless you got tremendously lucky, and then you'd probably just move somewhere and sit on a beach.
Yeah, I should have stated that you are the team on top of the team, right? Because you can't get anything done in this world, and your good fortune through Michael Henrikson's contacts that you were able to assemble a Chilean team that could be your eyes and ears on the ground while COVID's going on and we're all locked down and not traveling, and who knows when you'll be able to travel again, was really good fortune. So talking about the stock capital structure, insiders own quite a bit of Torq, don't they?
Yeah, I think that, again, that's another place where he and I are aligned. Both of us only care about stuff so much as we own it, to be frank. Just I think that's where we're aligned with investors. The more skin we have in our own game, the more we care about it. Frankly, it's pretty simple. Our fortunes are aligned with our shareholders and our stakeholders and our financial backers, and our employees. And that's how we carry ourselves, and that sort of helps govern our actions.
And that's what I love to see when I invest in companies. And I've been a shareholder in Torq, and that's one of the main attractions. I want to see a real company with real people running it who are in it for the eventual acquisition or whatever catalytic event. brings the value to the attention of investors and of people who are looking for these situations. So when you look at the stock price now, right now the kind of been in the assemblage phase. Now you're going to be moving. What kind of events can we look forward to in the near to medium term future?
Sure. I mean, the Margarita project itself, now that we've announced the acquisition of it, you'll probably can look forward to ongoing news with respect to the activities at the site. We're about to commence our sort of pre-drill exploration program. In other words, fully honing in on the targets that we want to drill. Drilling's not cheap. I don't care where you are. It's not cheap, but it's the ultimate test. So you want to give those tests the best shot they possibly can. So it always behooves you, particularly when you've just taken on a new project, to make certain you sort of measure twice and cut once, and the drill's where you cut. So you'll see news like that coming out. And as I've mentioned previously, we are on the acquisition trail still, and we're putting a great deal of effort into that initiative as well. So I can't say exactly when, but I would say that you could certainly expect more on that front as well.
So we could potentially see some nice appreciation in the stock. Copper prices cooperate, gold prices stay where they are or go a bit higher. We could be seeing some interesting movement in the stock in the future.
Yeah, well, one would hope so. We're certainly going to try to do all the right things, and then hopefully the market will allow us to have that the value we create reflected in the share price.
Absolutely. Well, hey, we appreciate you coming on, Sean, and things are really looking up for Torq, and we're going to be checking in with you periodically to see exactly what's going on. If you want to find out more, just go over to torqresources.com. That's TORQ resources.com. Make sure you sign up for the notifications so you get the news releases when we do, and the ticker symbols on the OTCQX, it's TRBMF, and on the TSX Venture, TORQ. Sean, we'll talk to you soon. Be well.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, Kerry.
Mining Stock Wealth.